Okay, about to move on and collect the rest of my variables. Okay, so um, I need to make more room to add variables here. So what I'm going to do is going to click on this last column and then right click and then insert one to the left. And then instead of doing that again, I'm just going to hit Control Y, which causes that to happen again. It just means repeat that last command. So I need a bunch more columns, and so you can see now I have them. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to make my final sort of variable, and it's related to drinking and maybe what we might call like problem drinking or problematic or difficult issues coming up because of drinking. And so the variables I'm going to get are these ones highlighted in pink. And if we go here to the code book, I've highlighted them in pink here also. If we look at what they say, this one says, in your current lifestyle, how often do you drink at least one drink? And then this ranges to, never all the way up to, basically every day. And then this one says how often you drink to get drunk. And it has, I think, the same sort of, actually it has a different time range, which that's kind of weird, but whatever. I guess it's assuming it's going to be less common. Anyways, and then I did not use all of these questions here that are related to drinking and sort of outcomes that might happen because this first one, the one having kind of regrettable sex while intoxicated, that isn't just a function of drinking, it's also a function of relationships. So I thought that might not be as closely related to the these other three, which are actually, we don't want this one. We do not want this one. We don't know, because this peer drinking one, that's about other people's behavior towards you. We want this obligation one instead. There. Okay, because the fighting, okay, this one we want this. We want often been in fights, arguments while drinking. This one is vomiting, and this one is impacting negatively on obligations the next day. And so I think these would all be sort of negative things that are happening due to the drinking. And so I think they kind of all fit together. So, so yeah, so I got it right here. Fighting, vomiting, obligation. Okay. And probably we want to make this sort of amount of drinking one variable, and then the fighting, drinking, blah, 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 another one. So I might go ahead and give this one a slightly, well, I'm just going to go ahead and copy these first. So, oops, this thing is really annoying. I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste them here and var construct like that. And then I'm going to make two variables and drink amount. I call it amount drink, and then this one is called prob drink. Okay, and so then this one is just going to be these two added up, and this one is going to be these three. So this equals this plus that. So this should be getting pretty familiar. And this one equals the sum of this range here. That. And then I can fill both these down. There we go. You can see they're not perfectly correlated, these two things. You wouldn't expect them to be necessarily, but they are probably somewhat related. So yeah, so now these variables here are ones I'm going to use in my analysis. So what I'm going to do is highlight them as a whole column. So I think it's hard to read. Well, I think it doesn't matter too much if it's hard to read. So I'll just go with the pink there. And then let me go back over here. What variables? See, I'm not going to include these variables because I'm using this index instead. This one I think I'm going to use directly. This party one. Maybe I'll make this one pink also. This is so annoying, this more thing. Oh, but now I need it. Alright, pink. And then the study variable. There. It's a variable I'm going to get. The social capital variable. On that green. Okay. And then these ones, I'm not going to bother highlighting the ones because I'm going to kind of grab, I think, all of these. Yeah. Okay. So now I've made all the variables I want to use for this initial analysis, where I'm going to use either the drinking amount or the problem drinking as my dependent variable. And I'm going to use another sheet here. So let's see if this one empty. Oh, it was not empty. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to add a sheet right next to it, and I'll call this one explore. Okay. And then so here I'm going to go ahead and copy. Let me get this out of the way. This. I'm going to get all these. Copy. And I'm going to paste them here. Okay. Oh, and then I'm going to resize this. There. Okay, go back to here. Escape. And then I'm going to get these ones that are filled in all the way. This one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Copy those. You can see that I got the case ID. You always want to bring the case ID with you in case you mix things up and need to fix it. And paste the rest of them there. And then I just pasted them, but now I need to paste special the values to make sure I get the values, not the formulas. Okay, there are a couple different variables I could use as dependent or outcome variables depending on what question I want to ask. But what I'm going to do right now is demonstrate one of the basic exploratory steps that you can take. And what I'm thinking of here is I'm using GPA as my dependent variable. And study time I'm using as a predictor. And eventually I'm going to use year in school, father's education, mother's education, and SES, all as predictors of GPA in a regression later. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just doing a scatter plot and looking at the relationship between study time, which is the x-axis here, and GPA, which is the y. And we can see that it's kind of hard to see what's going on because these are Likert values and the dots overlap, so we don't know where the points are concentrated. We can see where there are points and when there aren't, but we don't know relatively where most of the points are. We can see 3 at least weird values here where people are saying that they don't study at all, but they had GPAs. I'm guessing that maybe some of these people are the few cases that were not actually enrolled in school currently. So if they're talking about their current studying, they wouldn't be studying at all, but they might be reporting their GPA from before. So we might need to eliminate those cases from this analysis once we identify which ones those are. And we could tell which ones they are, I think, in the AC year or the another variable. I think I remember seeing someone say that they are not in school now. So anyways, we could check on that later. But what I want to do is show you how I made the scatter plot. That's pretty easy. Let's go ahead and delete this one. So what I did is I highlighted these 2 columns, but just the values. So I just scrolled down until I got to the bottom of the values, and then I went to insert, and then I chose a chart. It automatically makes a column chart, which is not what we want, so we need to change that. Scroll down here to scatter, and then it's made it. Okay, and so it's made it with the left column X and the right column Y, which is the default, and we're just going to just arrange our columns that way to make it easy on us to do that. You could switch it around, I think, with some of these, but we're not going to do that. So one thing I don't like about this is the dots are solid and make it hard to see where there are multiple cases. So we can change I think if we go to customize here, let's see, chart style, okay, chart axes, series, there we go. So I think there's a little X thing, this one here I like better, and then if we make it larger, like 10, maybe even 14 point, it makes them easier to see. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and close that. We're going to make a jittered version of this data. Okay, so the original data is here and here, and the jitter data is just for visualization. We're not going to use that in any like numeric analysis. But you can see what I've done. If you look here, this says that z2 is going to be equal to x2 plus a random value, which you invoke by using the function rand with parentheses and then close the parentheses, and that means it's just going to put a random number in there between 0 and 1. If we wanted to change the scale of that random number, we could add that in, but we're just going to go ahead and leave it with that size. It'll probably be fine for our purposes. And then I went ahead and did the same thing here for GPA. Okay, so then we have these jittered, so then I could just click drag this range. Whoa, went too far. There, and then insert, chart. Oh, and hey, look at that. It jumped right to the kind of chart I wanted, which was nice. And it put a title in, which is fabulous. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just, one thing we want to do is change these dots to customize series from circle to star to 14. 14 maybe a little, how about 10? There we go, that's better. Okay, done. And then I'll make this a little smaller. I'll go ahead and drag this up. Oh, come on. This is the kind of annoying thing. Oops. My bad. Hopefully I'm dragging it up here to be next to the other one. There it is. Okay, so you can see that these are showing the same information, more or less. There's just slight random noise added to it, but we can see more easily where the points are concentrated. What I would want to do if I'm actually going to use this, I would want to edit the axes labels and the title, and then get rid of this legend here. And so like legend, we would say none, and then chart and axis title, we would change this to so this should be steady time predicts GPA. Okay, and then let's see. GPA. Okay. There we go. So this is better. I would probably center this too. I think it's easy to do. I might make this a little taller, a little less wide, like that. Oops. Yeah, hold on. Let's see. Customize legend. No. Chart title. Change this to chart title, and then we can center it. There. Okay. So yeah, so that looks pretty good now. Hopefully that's helpful, and I'll make another video soon.